Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Desmond. Today we'll continue to play furry visual novel Pervader Part 3. He sunk his eyes to the floor and contemplated his memories. The incident had affected him too, even though I could tell he wasn't injured by the blast. Harvey, who are they? Ellen, the thief? Rock pervaders, probably Umbra. They were meant to steal from the watch. Such foolishness will be. Ugh. Alan shook his head and sighed. He then looked at me and placed his hand on my arm, squeezing it. There was genuine remorse and worry in his eyes. I never would have risked you being there if I knew this would happen. It was supposed to be a job like any other. I did not expect the Marshal to bring this kind of conflict to us. Even if I suspected those items were conflicted by some rocks, I never would have foreseen a plot to try and steal from them. Those thieves were insanely foolish to do what they did, and we got caught up in their foolishness. Regardless, we are innocent. The Marshal will see reason. He must. Harvey, I'm so very sorry you got caught up in this. Although it wasn't his fault, he felt responsible for what happened. I wanted to tell him to stop acting like he was to blame, but we were interrupted before I could say anything. The door opened and the Marshal stepped inside. He walked over in front of our cell and stood there. There was that glare again. It still shook me. But my indignation towards him had overcome my fear. I found the strength to stand up. The reason for our imprisonment wasn't clear, but we were trapped in the middle of some scheme we did not consent to. The Marshal, is your assistant feeling better? I can speak for myself. The boy has grown a spine. Good. Why are we locked in here? He began pacing around. Both of you were there at the scene. Some sort of magic injured by my man and my son. The thief did this. We had no part in it. Harvey, let him speak, Alan. We are all upset about what happened. Your men saw them. They held me hostage. Umbral scum. He cursed them under his breath. Of course those fiends would take hostage. At least we were allowed one small joy. The thief that clung to the dagger died in the blast, a merciful fate compared to what we would have shown him. I promise you this, when we find the rest of them, they will be put away to rot in a dark cell and never see the sun again. They will pay, no matter where they hide. Then why are we locked up? I do not believe you to be guilty of any crime. Yet, we were locked up. I'm unable to release you, not yet. I stopped in front of the bars and he stopped in front of me. You are to be questioned and cleared of suspicion before you can be officially released. Then question me, question both of us. We have nothing to hide. I'm not the one who wants to question you. The prosecutor of the watch will conduct the interrogations. He shall arrive in a few days. So we have to sit here and wait until then? The Marshal leaned in slightly and placed his hands on the bars, supporting himself. It was only the slightest gesture of weakness or exhaustion, and it allowed me to see that he was also worried. Can you show me your wound? What? You were hurt in the blast. That's what those bandages are for. I attended to his wounds. He's fine. I looked up at the Marshal and there was regret in the way he looked at me. He mentioned that his son was caught in the blast as well. Harvey, how badly is your son injured? He flared up at that. You shall not speak of my son. Show me your wound or I will cut off those bandages myself. Whatever is going through his mind, past the harsh exterior, there is suffering in his eyes. I was compelled to show him, although I didn't understand the purpose. The bandage were wrapped in one long piece that tucked under at the top. I unraveled the thing which went round me several times, then it came loose and I could push down the rest of it. At first I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was surprising to see that my wound made for such a big and strange scar. It didn't feel all that painful either. They were both looking at it with dire attention. It seemed to have mostly healed except for that funny looking scar. Oh, Harvey. Seeing their reaction unsettled me. Sure, it looks strange, but I don't understand their unease. I looked at Alan, then at the marshal, glancing between them, searching for an answer. What is it? Alan walked up to me and pulled the sleeve on his right arm up to his shoulder. He showed me his upper arm where he had a symbol, something like a brand. It was in his flesh like a scar, yet his fur remained as thick as everywhere else. Okay, only discolored at the root. Do you know what this is? No. It's a Pervader Sigil. Harvey? Oh, okay. So I thought I'm a normal furry, but end up I'm a Pervader as well. And then I look at my own. You didn't see it when you bandaged him? There was nothing there other than a few bits of metal lodged in the flesh. Alan rushed up to the bars and appealed to the marshal. His voice was consumed with worry. You must believe me, he was not a Pervader before. He tugged on the bars wastefully. The marshal stood there betraying no emotion. My thoughts moved in ferment. Two ideas kept repeating in a bouncing pattern. I'm now a Pervader. I'm imprisoned by the silvering wash. My mind sunk back again. Is this really happening? My feet moved on their own, stepping backwards and away from something which I could not escape. Too much is happening to me too fast. I'm just the son of a baker. Why was this happening to me? I heard them argue, but I couldn't process their words. 1,000 old thoughts raced through my mind. In my head, I crossed through the memories of my life in a desperate search for balance. I thought of Jonah sleeping in the shack. I thought of my brothers and I huddled in our bedroom back at the farm. I thought of the rocky nights I had spent on the ship that took me to this land. I thought of the coin I had worked for an entire year to make the trip. I thought of the work offers on the notice board. I thought of when Alan asked me about earning coin and the dogs instead. I thought of the first time I was with another boy. I thought of father and mother kneading at the door and how they would ask me to grab another sack of flour. I thought of the water globe and how it twinkled in the moonlight. I wanted to turn back time. Somewhere along the line I failed. I made a mistake which led me here. If I could only try again. I ate for something which was impossible. No, I cannot keep falling into these patterns of desperation. You are no longer a child, Harvey. Dreams won't save you. We are each dealt a hand of cards and we need to make the best of it. This is what father would say. Snap out of it. I heard the marshal walk out, but my eyes remained glued to the cold stone floor, lost in thought. I sat down on one of the beds at the far wall. When he was gone, I looked up and Alan was still standing there, leaning into the bars. Alan. He did not turn. What happens now? I don't know. Are they going to let us go? The question hung in the air. He did not answer. You struck a deal with them before. That doesn't matter anymore. Your sigil has complicated things more than you know. I looked down at it. There was beauty and strangeness in it. It was a sign of mystery, of the potential to explore magic. Now I could truly follow in Alan's footsteps. At the same time, I knew it could carry disaster by its mere presence in this region. This is how they check if someone is a Pervader. Alan turned back and walked up to me. He knelt and inspected the thing on my body. I thought you had to be born a Pervader. You are, but your sigil appears later in life. Can I do magic? That should be the last thing on your mind right now. What else am I supposed to do, Alan? Rest, your body is still weak. You need to regain your strength. But I felt disturbed and in danger. This place frightened me now. I don't want to be in a cage. Prison is death. The walls are closing in on me. It's too small, too hard to breathe. I need to get out of there. Of here, sorry. Can you bring us out? Harvey, you are not thinking straight. Those thieves, I remember, one of them blasted a hole in the wall. Can't you do the same to get us out? He judged me silently, then glanced down and kicked at the blue petals on the floor. He pointed at the flower pots beyond our cell. Do you see these plants? Who cares about some stupid flowers? This thing is called Interrogation. It saps magic around it. Even if I wanted to break us out, it wouldn't work. Not as long as we are near a bunch of those things. Okay, I see. I remember being in the main hall with the intruder's knife at my neck, and the next thing I saw was that large hole in the wall. At the time I was so scared of everything that was happening, I didn't stop to think how terrifying that power must be, to be able to instantly blast through a wall of stone. And all of that power could be stripped away with a bouquet. Is this thing on my body? Did it appear because of that dagger? He sat down next to me and turned to face me. He placed his hand on my back and stroked it, trying to calm me down. You went through what we call an awakening. When someone is born, they may or may not have the spark of magic within them. If they do, they aren't aware of it until their awakening when the sigil reveals itself. This usually happens while one grows up, around the time when you become a man. Yours is a fairly late one, but it had to happen sooner or later. Why now? An awakening comes about when one experiences a significant event in their life. Falling in love, losing a loved one, a brush with death, anything like that. You understand? All this commotion has caused you to awaken. Alan was revealing a new world for me. I felt like I should be excited, but this quagmire make it hard to think. I'm exhausted. My body is healing, but my mind is being tyrannized with confusion and uncertainty. I need to lie down. Alan stood up and allowed me to rest. There were so many more questions to ask and so many things to consider, but my brain needed time to process all that I had gathered. Rest. I need more rest. My vision suddenly came to me, opening me to an empty, ashen wasteland. In all directions lay nothing, except for grey clouds on a grey sky. There was no breeze, no whistling of wind, no life, no motion of any kind. The clouds lay still upon the sky like a painted ceiling. I felt neither chill nor warm. Time stopped everything. I looked down and saw that I was naked. Wow. Standing, my feet planted in fine-grained sand, sunk deep enough to hide my toes. My sigil was there, and I felt an absence, or maybe it was anticipation. It centered itself in and around the sigil. The sigil, there is something about it. I was unable to move. All my senses told me that I had the means of control, but something in my mind blocked any such command. My consciousness, however, was able to go beyond. I sensed the space around me, empty as it was. I sensed that there was nothing else in this universe except for me, and I felt someone else there, or something else. At first I didn't notice it. Slowly it came into my conscious regard. Oh! A living, burning, tenebrous shadow lay ahead of me. It stood upright like a person, staring at me frozen in place. For a moment I thought it was my own shadow given life. It didn't feel right, however. What felt like an eternity later, it began to move. approaching slowly, cautiously, almost fearfully. Its unexpected animation shook me and made me think it was alien, a stranger who may want to hurt me. It stepped without weight, barely shifting the sand below its feet. It began to circle around me, shifting away from my vision. Without seeing it, I realized it now stood behind me. Okay? In an instant, my vision began to spin with the heavy blur of emotion. The dreamscape became fuzzy and shaken. The grey expanse shook and blended, shattering this illusory reality into a fine, amorphous grain. A whirl of chaos swallowed up what I had seen. The dreaming space was behind me now. Then I felt gravity begin to drag me back to reality. I was falling, crashing, escaping far away. I looked towards the bottom and saw myself in that dark place, reaching back into the cell that held my body. Wow, wake up. I opened my eyes and saw the marshal standing over me. Alan was sleeping in the other bed and stirred as well. Stand up, you need to come with me. Huh? Although my sleep was interrupted, I felt vigorous. Strangely, no waking stupor plagued me. The anxiety of that unsettling dream was quickly fading away. Now was not the time to ponder it. Presently, I stood up and followed him without question. Where are you taking him? He did not say. We walked out of the cell. Another watchman took the key and locked Alan inside. The marshal escorted me through the door, across a short hallway and into an office. Stepping inside along the left wall stood a watchman who wore red ornaments upon his pauldrons. Next to him was the marshal's son. Thankfully, he doesn't seem injured. Oh, thankfully. Someone can prove me innocent. In the far right corner, there was a small robed fellow who sat daintily at a narrow table, holding parchment and quill, a scribe. This very visual novel is so hard for me. So many difficult words. I turned around to my right and saw a familiar face there. Jonah? Hey, laddie. My surprise turned into apprehension. If I'm to be in trouble with the Inquisition, I do not want Jonah to be dragged into it. He looked a bit frightened and concerned, almost didn't want to look at me. Take a seat. And I sat in the chair in the middle of the room, the center of their attention. The marshal moved behind the desk and sat down as well. He shuffled through some papers, inspecting them. The scribe leaned in with his quill, ready to transcribe the things which would be said. The marshal then began to speak in monotone. The infidel gathering session started. Presiding Sir Alton Amaro, Marshal of the Watch. Kindly note the day of this session is the 24th of White Moon, in the year 918. Kindly note that this hearing is monitored by one Sir Anders Cortanio, Knight Commander of the Watch, one Sir Jimsa Amaro, Knight of the Watch. The Inquisition seized the Pervader, Harvey Levley of Adani, suspected of defiance against the law of Candor. The Inquisition seized the citizen Jonah Bulai of Pendragon, an innocent man. He quickly glanced up from his paper to nod my way. Please remove the bandage around your torso. He wants me to show them the sigil. He knew about it already and wants to show this to other people, or to put it on some official record. What does this mean for me? I don't think I have a choice in the matter either way. I undid my wrappings and showed them. Kindly note that the suspect has a Pervader sigil on his abdomen. Mr. Bulai, is it true you know the suspect? Yeah. Is it true that you and Mr. Lefley are both residents of the local worker camp here in Chariot? Yes, sir. I just know I'm as Harvey. Before today, have you ever seen the suspect with his upper body exposed? Sir, when the days were too hot, we would sleep without shirts. No sense sweating off in them at night. You slept in the same room? The same shack, sir. Every shack in the worker camp has 2 beds for 2 people, and Harvey be me shack mate. When was the last time you remember seeing him without a shirt on? Must have been a few days ago, maybe 4 days ago. Aye, 4 days ago it was. In the morning of times the men would remove their shirt to wash themselves near the scuttlebutt, and I'll see Amit then. He didn't have that thing on before. So 4 days ago, you said that he did not have that sigil on his body? Aye, it's the truth, I swear it. That thing was not with him. Harvey is a good lad. Whatever you think he done, he's a good, innocent lad. Kindly note that the witness has confirmed that the suspect did not have a sigil on his body as recently as 20th of White Moon, in the year 918. Kindly note that the witness' testimony has placed the suspect defiance of the law of candor well within the period of admission. The evidence session is ended. I thank the witness and the monitors for gracing this session. You may leave, Mr. Bulai. Jim, sir, tell the guards outside to escort the suspect back to his cell. I didn't quite understand what was going on. Their lower gazes and fronts seemed to suggest there was reason for them to worry. If they are worried, should I be? Maybe they had hoped Jonah would admit to something incriminating. Their intention was still a bit too foreign to me. I explained to Alan what had happened. He listened carefully and seemed pleased as I told it. Harvey, that's good. That was done to help you, confirming that you hadn't been hiding your Pervader sigil for a long time. That means they can't lock you up for not showing yourself sooner. It seemed like it, but I'm not sure. Did you tell them where to get someone to defend me? While you were recovering from your injuries, they asked me about you. I told them you stay at the worker camp. They must have figured out the rest. Do you think they will let us go now? I don't think so. There is still the prosecutor we have to deal with. Perhaps the marshal is trying to smooth up the process before he gets here. Things are shaping up. I allow myself to hope. So I am a Pervader now. Can I learn magic? Do I even want to? The significance of all this escapes me. Alan recognized the nervous excitement in my voice and he smiled. He spoke to me about how Pervaders learn magic. He told me about Pervader sanctuaries, secluded communities which take in newly awakened and teach them how to use their powers. I've never heard of that before. All of this is so new to me. I never knew there was so much to being a Pervader. The Inquisition makes it hard on us to be out in the open. Most of us stay in sanctuaries, away from the rest of the world. I didn't understand it. Alan was always kind to me. Were most other Pervaders dangerous, like the Inquisition program? Was he one of the good ones? Have you been to a sanctuary? Alan: yes, I spent most of my life in one, since I awakened as a boy, up until a few years ago. What are other Pervaders like? They are just like you and me, Harvey. We are normal people, except that we concern ourselves with magic. If the world were not so afraid of us, we would not hide away. You should have told me you were a Pervader. I know. Could you teach me magic? Alan looked away. He sighed and paused before offering an answer. I'm not a good magic teacher. I can see that Harvey really is interested with learning magic, but I don't think now that should be his priority over staying alive. When we get off here, I will send word for you to join a sanctuary. I don't want to leave you. You hire me as your assistant. Harvey, I can't keep you with me the way you are right now, and you cannot stay like this. You need a proper environment to develop. Wait, hold on. I don't even know what I want to do yet. I haven't thought through any of this. Then listen to what I have to say and think. People talk. The town will learn that you are Pervader. Perhaps word has gotten out and I may have been revealed as well. You will see how their attitude change. You see people shunning you, mothers walking down the street will grab their children and hurry away from you in fear. Shops and taverns will not want to serve you, men will curse you and spit in your direction. Oh, this is so harsh. This is so mean. Likely the worker camp will no longer want to keep you and you may find yourself without a roof over your head. That's the way things are in places where the Inquisition shift people's mind against us. People are taught to fear us. It's easy to make one fear the unknown. The North is safe for our kind, and that is where you will find teachers. Trust me when I say this, you want to be in a place that welcomes you. It will weigh you down if you try to stick it out here. You have been living in Chariot for a while now, and you seem to be getting along just fine. Why can't I do that too? He tilted his head to the side and sighed in frustration. No, Harvey, Chariot is no longer a good place for you or for me. People did not know I was a pervader. That man they call in will spread the word. He will tell them you are one too. Jonah is a good person. He helped me settle in here when I arrived. He may know you and be friendly to you, but most of the world won't understand. Whether or not he states anything, what happened at my shop is really being talked about across town. There's a big hole in the wall for all to see, and the Inquisition is handling the matter. It's not hard to leap to the correct conclusion. Harvey, I'm as much a foreigner to Oritin as you are. Now we are more suspicious than ever. Even if nobody ever comes up to you and asks you directly whether you are a pervader or not, it will always be in the back of their minds. You don't understand what it's like to live in the shadow of such suspicions. One's imagination gives birth to fearful demons. Harvey, what about you? If the town learns that you are a pervader, what will you do? I'll probably return north. Try and pick up where I left off in Boresius. He paused for a few moments as he seemed to recall bittersweet memories. But I'm not sure if that is possible for me. I'm afraid the watch will want to continue to use me. The Marshal will understand that Sheriff is no longer safe for me. He may want me to settle elsewhere, perhaps even down south in Pendragon. I had a rebellious thought and inched closer to him to speak harshly. If we are going to be released, can't we escape north? Alan nodded slowly. Yes, that is an option. I would sooner return home to Boresius rather than travel elsewhere. Truth be told, I'm tired of this land. I've been away for too long. If you go north, can I come with you? Of course, Harvey, the north is a realm of pervaders. There are plenty of sanctuaries there for someone like you. You could set up shop there? Yes. That could keep working for you, right? Oh, yes. Harvey, let's take it easy, okay? First, we need to clear our names and get out of here. Once that is settled, we will figure out the next step. He leaned back and rested his head against the cold stone wall, looking upwards at the dark ceiling. I don't even know what my shop may look like right now. Hopefully nobody has gone through and looted it. I hope my vintage didn't get stolen. Alan shook his head and turned his attention back to me. What am I saying? None of that really matters. I should be thankful we didn't lose our life after all this. I'm not going to abandon you. Alan, thank you. Listen to me well, Harvey. You can't be out and about with a sigil like that. It's a good thing you have it on your belly because you need to hide it. If you ever need to take off your shirt to wash it or yourself, make sure there aren't any strangers around who can see it. Most shaman don't know about our sigils, but you shouldn't take any risks. Shaman? That's the word we use for common folk, people who don't have the sigil. That's a lot you need to learn now. He breathed a heavy sigh. Keep it to yourself that you are a pervader, understand? Don't go around bragging or worse, trying to impress people with magic. Okay, so I suppose, let's say if they have sigil, can they just perhaps tattoo on it? Try to hide it? but I don't know any magic. Good, there will be a time and a place for you to play around with the Sigil's power. Now is not the time and here is not the place. I nodded in understanding. If the Marshal forces Alan to go work for the watch elsewhere, I would be willing to go with him. He has done so much for me, I feel indebted to him. But going to Sentry also sounded like a good idea. Learning magic with other Pervaders? Will I be mad to pass it up? What if Alan decides to run away? How difficult was it to escape the wash? Alan said the north was the Pervader Rim, Borestius. The Inquisition doesn't have any influence there. As long as they don't keep him under tight surveillance, it should work out, I think. Alan wasn't willing to teach me magic, although if I stick with him, I think he'll eventually come around to the idea. At the very least, I could learn about enchantment from him, since that is the reason why he hired me in the first place. It was a crossroads I had to consider. Unfortunately, my pondering was cut short. The Marshal and his son had come before us once again. Their abrupt steps and tense shoulders, the manner in which they carried themselves told me something was wrong. Show me your sigil. Again? Don't test me, boy. Do it. His tone was severe, almost savage. I was reminded of the first time I had felt threatened by him. His composure spoke of some terrible thing that he could unleash at a moment's notice. Alan perked up as well, aware of the dreadful tension that they had brought with them. I compiled, and once again everyone stared at the thing on my belly. This has happened one too many times. I was beginning to feel like a freak at a circus. Check yourself, Pervader, lest you die a fool. I looked down. My sigil is there, all seems in order, but I looked at it carefully. Something else was there together with the sigil. It was a new scar which glowed an airy blue. My fingers went to touch it but felt nothing out of the ordinary. It was as if it wasn't really there, except for the eyes to see. It radiates a disturbing sense of unnaturalness. I ruffled the fur and scratched at it, but nothing happens. It pulsed rhythmically, turning to a slightly paler blue. The unsettling nature of this new thing made my heart race. Then I realized that the sky is pulsing to the rhythm of my heartbeat. Alan went and placed his hand over it, feeling it as I did. This? He turned to look at the Marshal. What do you know of this? The Marshal sat in the chair opposite our cell. He rested his head in his hands, scratching on top of his head. His fingers were almost violent, as if threatening to stab himself. He sat there for a while abusing himself. I grew nervous, and Alan seemed to reflect my mood. The Marshal stood up suddenly and stepped forwards with haste. He quickly unlocked our cell. Come with me. He turned away expecting us to follow. He led us out through the jail door. We continued down the hallway and out of the main entrance. What? No guards at all? And then we were outside in the middle of the night. There weren't even any guards here. The lack of security taunted me to escape into the darkness, but I wasn't foolish enough to think I would make it out there. This country had many dark and dangerous things lurking in the night. Also, I had heard. Even without those grim rumors, this land was unfamiliar to me, so I had no hopes of finding my way to safety. Beyond all that, I was confused and intrigued by what the Marshal was doing. Where is he taking us? Looking around, I recognized that we had been imprisoned at the guard barracks near the town's north exit. We went along the edge of the building, turning the corner. There we saw a few tents had been set up. Faintly candle lit from within. The Marshal took us inside the nearest tent. When we arrived inside, the attending nurse excused herself and quickly departed. Oh mercy, they were affected too. Inside there were 2 cots. The nearest was occupied by one of the watchmen that had been there that night. his body naked except for a sheet over his lower half. His forehead was sweaty and his beady eyes stared out into nothingness. The sign indicated he was lost in a waking fever dream, unaware of his surroundings. The other bed too was occupied. It was a white sheet that molded itself over a still shape of a man. My heart sank as I realized it was a dead body. I had never seen a dead person before. It unsettled me. Somehow I felt it was even more terrible to recognize the shape under the shade rather than seeing the body. I looked back at the other one and noticed he was breathing quickly. The feverish survivor carried upon his flesh the same rich tendrils that I had, except it spanned across the torso, through the shoulders, up the neck, and down the arms and wrists. It would be a good guess that under the cover the blue roots continued down the legs. Seeing it at such a scale made me think of it like a long, winding throbbing vein. It pulsed as mine had, but it was weak and fast, betraying his wasting heart. There was also the sigil on his arm, the same shape that I wore on my belly. What? The day after it all happened, this blue thing appeared on them, as well as that sigil. I went to put my hand on my abdomen. Now that I was aware of it, I could almost feel it in sync with the beating in my chest. I counted each moment and began to feel sick to my stomach. It was beating faster now. Alan was wrong. This was not my freak awakening. The shattered dagger had turned me into a pervader, as it did to this man. Oh my god! Seriously? And it also caused the affliction. At first there were only a few twisting clustered on their legs, flanks, around the elbow and neck, the places where their armor did not protect them from the shrapnel. But they started to grow, this faint corruption. It expanded and connected into one piece, then they kept growing. They grew and grew until they became as you see them now. The one over there perished earlier, and this one, I fear he will soon follow. There are two others as well with only minor injuries. They have been sent back to the headquarters at Helene for processing on account of their new sigils. At the time they did not have that corruption, I imagine the same fate will befall them. The marshal turned to Alan and pleaded, "Please tell me you know something of this condition." Alan stepped closer to the bodies and inspected them. He touched them as he had touched me and my wound. He came to the one that has died, lifted his cover. I mastered the will not to stare at the dead man's face. The snake wound was there, but the color had faded and no longer pulsed. How did he die? He just gave up on life. His heart and breathing quickened, then stopped. The nurses tried to administer stimulants, but nothing. Alan scratched at his head and turned, thinking, trying to organize his memories. His eyes started left and right, working the details in his mind. This I think is Nigandi magic. It has to be. The dagger was of Nigandi make. It must have caused all of this. These old powers. Okay. It was so volatile. It must be why the dagger exploded so violently. That sound as well. Alan, this is not the time to get lost in your ancient puzzles. The only thing I care about is if you fix it. Alan shook his head and paced around nervously. Oh my god, am I going to die? I don't know, not here. I need a lab, a century library to study, time to research this. Oh mercy. There was another dagger in the crates. I need to investigate this power. Do you have it? No. The thief has escaped, stole one of the daggers. I think they wanted both of them. Okay. When I checked the item, there was one other thing with similar power. It was a broken breastplate. It might hold a similar charge to that dagger. Get that. We destroyed every item in those crates. What? A new directive came to us yesterday. The Grand Council has decreed that all confiscated enchanted items are to be destroyed. Further, I was instructed to end our deal with you afterwards. You would have been arrested either way. No, damn! Damn the wash! Damn you and your utter disdain! Damn it all! Alan was fuming. He shook the table at the right side of the tent, smashed his face on top of it, and caused the bowl to spill. I almost thought he would pick up the table and throw it in a fit of rage. He had never shown himself this angry before. It was strange to think he was even capable of it. The marshal rose to meet his fury. Don't get angry with me, bear. Tell me how to fix this. Oh, okay. The wash can't fix anything. All you do is destroy. I needed that thing. I needed something. Alan turned away and leaned on the table that he had just abused. A few seconds later, he had gathered his thought. He turned and wore sorrow on his face. You have to let us go, Sir Marshal. I must travel to a sanctuary and find others who can help me figure this out. And I must find another dagger. Each sanctuary has its own relic collection and I may find one among them. If I had such a dagger, I may be able to find out what is happening. Sir Marshal? What is it, Jimzer? If the directive came this morning, it probably has not reached some of our catch. The safe houses, yes. There are a few in the region. Good thinking, Jimzer. Go, check the directory. See if any of them have any items of this kind. He turned to Alan for clarification. What was it you needed? A Nigandi dagger. I don't know how people catalog this thing, but you might have classified them as Northern or of Barrister's. Check for any kind of dagger or tool, something each, something that might be used to draw blood. Get to it. Jimson ran off. As he departed, the marshal stared his way sadly. Your son, he has been affected too, hasn't he? The marshal's face lost all pretense of authority. He turned halfway and lowered his gaze to the ground. Now you feel scared. Jimzer was struck once, below the hip. The mark has grown on him as well. I fear for him. Sir Marshal, if it is as you say it is, then I do not have time to do anything for this man lying here. But Harvey and your son, if they have only the beginnings of the injury, whatever it is, we cannot waste any time. The marshal paced around nervously once more. He wrestled with his own thoughts, shook his head, considered aspect, but the problem was too great. He had no good answers, no good options or decisions to make. Frustration and worry clouded his mind. I will tell the prosecutor I release you. He turned away and sighed again. And I will putting myself in jeopardy in the same breath. Why? Don't you have the authority to do this? Matters like this, where watchmen turn into pervaders, these are highly controversial. It's not supposed to happen. We take steps against it. They were not awakening, sir. All of them were struck by the dagger's metal. All of them gained sigils. It cannot be a coincidence. I see that as well as you do, Alan. But the Inquisition has no solution for something like this. It will not care to save my son. He went to rub his forehead stressfully. Mercy, oh mercy. Okay guys, I think that's it for today. So this visual novel really focuses on more readings and less visual arts. But I can see that the story is building up. It's slow. It's just like you are reading a novel that you have bought from bookstore. You can see that the game developer has put a lot of efforts on writing the story. So guys, if you like my video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you. Bye.